He's really he's shameless in intellectual argument. He's absolutely without character, a moral foundation, or even intellectual substance.
All right, welcome back to the Getting Lit podcast. Last episode, we spoke to Alec Mahebian about Wilkie Collins's The Moonstone, which was a great conversation available on our Patreon. And this episode, we are talking to the one and only Ivan Niccolai, who, I've met a few times. I think you're not only the tallest writer I've ever met, you are the tallest person I've ever met. Like, the man is enormous. Welcome, Ivan.
Thanks.
Um, yeah, who is Ivan is the author of a fantastic kind of collection of short fiction called Like You Have a Choice. Um, and I don't know, do you have an elevator pitch for this, Ivan? Like, what's it all about? Like, if you can sum it up in a log line or whatever, what do you think?
The elevator pitches I couldn't settle on like a style, and because I sort of was doing it on Substack, like no one can tell me what to do, you know? Like, you can't tell me what to do. So I just had fun with it. And
Yeah.
yeah, like
So it's like
whatever.
an exploration of different voices and styles and things like that.
Yeah.
And kind of a lot of them are centered around Melbourne, where you are domiciled currently, um,
Last I checked.
along with myself. Um, and yeah, I really like this is the thing that like a lot of people have said, actually. I think Nina, in her really wonderful review, it was really astute, actually, was talking about Melbourne as a character as well. And I think Jack on Book Club from Hell was sort of saying this as well, how you sort of go in on Melbourne, right? But I actually find that a lot of this stuff, when I read it, it was sort of like almost kind of a love letter, like a bit of a, it's a kinky love letter, but it's a love letter. What do you think about that? Do you hate Melbourne, Ivan, and you just like, or is it more like you have a love-hate relationship sort of thing?
I think it's a love-hate relationship.
Mhm.
Like as we all know, Melbourne can be fucking aggravating and up itself or just disconnected from itself. Like, we don't know how the other half is, and everyone kind of exists over and around each other. Um, but then you're like, it's also a beautiful, gentle city. Like in a way. So it is this kind of love hate where some days you're like, fuck the weather, fuck whatever it is Melburnians are on about, because I'm not like born and bred here. And then sometimes it's like, you are fucking wonderful, and what other little nooks and crannies will we uncover? What subculture, which is just an ethnicity maybe that you've never hung out with before, and it comes across as a subculture.
I love that you said nooks and crannies because you're so right that Melbourne is one of those cities with a lot of those nooks and crannies. Um, and Melbourne is the one of the big cities in Australia for international listeners who might not know. The other is Sydney. And Sydney's different. Sydney is like the really like, uh, she's a slut basically. Whereas like Melbourne, you got to work a little bit more, right? Like whereas Sydney just has it all out on display. She's got a short skirt and like if she bends over,
Done
you can see
ecstasy.
everything. Done ecstasy, and to the point where it's getting a little bit ran through, right? So whereas Melbourne, she's a little bit more sophisticated. There's a little bit more to her. You've just got to kind of explore a bit, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's so funny, even just here where I am in Thornbury, there are compounds that are probably run by the mob, You know,
Mhm.
there's these big wog compounds next to some old nana's houses, next to like affluent tech execs, quiet rebuilt wealth. Like you just like, what's going on? You know, like the more I walk these streets, I'm like, I want to know what's in that fucking compound, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Do you walk a lot?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I got that sense. I got that sense, like, not that there's like heaps of depictions of walking in this collection, but like, I feel like there's a certain sensibility you have as a writer if you walk a lot, that you sort of like pick up things and notice things that people who just like, you know, cower in their garrets don't kind of like get, right?
yeah. It's such a like, it's such a the cure for everything, right? Like you just go for a walk. It's cheap. It's yeah, yeah.
But you see things as
You
well, like
see
you
things, and the more you
notice.
walk, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So you weren't born and bred here. Your background's really interesting. How would you kind of encapsulate it?
I think by the
I
time I was 20, we had lived in 20 countries, and the long and short of it was, mom and dad joined a cult in the 80s, like in Europe, and it was an American apocalyptic West Coast sort of not at all wellness. I wouldn't say wellness, but what later became the hippies and the yuppies. Like, so yeah, growing up or being born in Europe to parents who were Italian and German, spoke American English to each other, and sort of in Catholic countries were like evangelical Christians who were also into free love and basically random 60s hippie shit. Yeah, I mean that's what that's what it comes down to in a nutshell. And so yeah,
so what was the movements like? So if you're in a cult, was it like they were almost missionaries for the cult? Is that why we were moving around a lot? What was the
missionaries was the euphemism. Like this was hilarious. You'd go in like fundraising, which was door to door. There were these. It's really funny if you think of the Jehovah's Witnesses, you'll find this lady in front of a supermarket. And I don't know, cults have this same aesthetic, which is the airbrush aesthetic. It's like airbrushed pictures of people in saintly poses, or with the children of God, it was also kind of there's lots of really sexually explicit stuff, which then they purged. But honestly, if you can find it, some people have tried to preserve it, and all they just went for this airbrushed cult look, and they copied from each other. Um, and the euphemism was they'd create these low quality um videos and tapes and children's like again stuff that children shouldn't have. This was a sex cult. Like maybe we shouldn't be producing material that we're gonna sell to children about brushing your teeth or something. But we go door to door, and the euphemism was we're traveling missionaries. Would you like to buy these cassettes? And there was a really disturbing one that I grew up. This was like my popular culture. We weren't allowed to watch TV. So one of them was like Heaven's Girl, and Heaven's Girl was living during the apocalypse. And Heaven's Girl like gets gang raped and is like, let me show God's love to the soldiers of the end time. Like this was just stuff that I grew up on and thought was completely fucking normal until, you realize it wasn't. So
so
And
what yeah, sorry,
no, no, go
continue.
for it. What?
Oh, I was just saying which countries were you in, like
So
all of them?
born in Switzerland in the
Yeah.
French part, and
Mm.
then went to Italy, went to Germany, went to Poland, Slovenia, Russia and Ukraine, just around the collapse of, the wall and the openness. And then my dad an idea to smuggle Bibles into Russia. And like the Russian hippies were so blocked off from the world. So it was an expansionist market. They were still American West Coast capitalists. They were like, let's go into countries where people are a bit more naive, pre-internet times. And like Russians just wanted anything Western. So you'd go into Russia and you were automatically cool because you came from the West. And they were much more receptive to Christianity because it was kind of banned. So yeah, we had this little panda and we went into Russia with Bibles under the coat, under blankets and stuff. And it was funny because hippies thought Jesus was cool. So,
Yeah, they would. But I find this really fascinating, your
yeah.
background, and like I do wonder if like, um if you've ever thought about how this has impacted your writing and like because I think Jack Norman actually wrote a really great review on this book as well, and he said that uh he found it hard to conceptualize not having a sort of ties to one place, right? Do you think that comes out in like this, in this collection as well, like this kind of experimenting with different voices, different registers, and different styles and stuff? Do you think that's in some way, I don't want to get too Freudian, but like connected to your childhood in this sense, you know?
Yeah, no, and I've joked with Jack, it's been the subject of like a debate. And I feel like if we look at the soul as a concept, as a writer, right? The soul is really cultural belonging, someone who deeply feels and lives place, has a sense of identity around it, can really write in a beautiful way about the place. And I was joking with Jack, like I don't have a soul, and I wrote like a prose poem on Substack about not having a soul. In this hilarious sense, like at a certain point, when I was young, I was really fucking confused, as you can imagine, about who the fuck I am. And now that I'm writing, it's more about like, okay, I've got some weird toolkit stuff I can use, but I still was struggling to like, how do you write about place? Like you look at what's the name escapes me, the Jewish author who's written like the great American novel, My Life is a Philip Roth. Like
Mm,
he's got this real sense of being Jewish American. It's hilarious, but it only comes through because he is so in that culture. And I think it's a challenge for a novelist to try and where do you get that grounding to then
mhm,
go and do that? So I think this dialogue with Jack Norman has been really productive because he has this immense sense of place, like North Queensland, and he writes about it so beautifully. So even such a good memory of his childhood, that being contrasted with that as a creative, it gives you this jolt. And then I'm like, wait, that was a really fucking weird emotion. Let me try, that's the basic sort of clay of writing is you get affected by something and I'm gonna fucking metabolize this. So
mm, mm.
yeah.
I think the advantage of like not having that tethering to place though is that like is what you can kind of do like you do in this collection, which is that you kind of can survey things in this sort of like almost I don't want to like reduce it to like anthropological, but like in a way that's not as it's a little bit more removed, and then you can see the kind of ironies and like hilarity of it a little bit more. That's where I think a lot of people probably get the sense that you're being like totally savage towards Melbourne because it feels like, you can see it, but you're not of it sort of thing. And so that gives you a particular perspective. And there's a certain alchemy to that as well, I think. I don't think there needs to be like, one's not better than the other, in terms of place.
Oh, look, totally agree. And I think it's a thing of maturing is it's easy to look at glass half full, half empty, right?
Mm, mm,
You can look at what you didn't have, or you can look at what you have. And at a certain point of growing up is like, hey, I can be depressed on a couch because I don't have a soul, mommy, or I can like use it for art. And I agree. Um I think even, you know, Justin Isis from the Neo Decadence was talking about it is like you swap one set of perceptions for another. But what I was originally thinking of when you said that was people often read it like a satire. And I have a little bit strong opinions on satire. I think sometimes in today's world we judge so quickly online that often just describing stuff that's a bit silly without an intent to be satirical comes off as satirical because everyone's ready to jump at it. So sometimes just describing is like, oh, that's the satire, like the irony of what he's describing. And it's like, maybe I'm just describing, I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, well, I think satire is like a very pointed sort of use of absurdity, but absurdity can also just be described. And like just describing an absurd situation doesn't mean that it's satire as well. So I get where you're coming from there. It's almost the satire is the weaponization of absurdity, whereas like just observing it is not necessarily satire. So yeah.
Like putting a meat puppet sock on. Like I satirize my cats. Like, I'm in the house far too much for work. And so I have, I impose conversations on these stupid creatures. I satirize my partner, much to her chagrin. But I feel like writing a whole novel where you're gonna meet puppet someone and like, I'm a stupid idiot. No, 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 like
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts or opinions on satire, Fresta?
I was just thinking, like, it's all these words people throw around these days, like, and they all like pragmatism, satire, ballad, or whatever. They all have like specific definitions, but we all kind of just like map onto them how we've received it. Like a ballad is just kind of anytime like a rock band plays like an acoustic slower song. But I
Mm.
feel like it has probably like a specific definition. So I was just thinking it was like satire. It probably has some like specific definition if you go back to like the Satyricon or whatever that
Mm.
I don't actually know. So I was just like thinking like I don't actually know what satire is technically.
It's just like a um almost almost kind of verging on polemical piece that like ramps up the
Yeah.
absurdity of something to make it like ridiculous and comic. So
Yeah, like I kind
yeah.
of get that kind of thing, but I just was wondering if I look it up and like I remember looking up the definition of pragmatism once, where you think pragmatism is just kind of like, oh, you just sort of take the middle road, and then I remember looking up the definition was like so confused. I was like, I don't think I know what this word means at all.
Oh, like
So
philosophical pragmatism
yeah.
or something.
So
Yeah.
anyway, so I don't really have any specific thoughts on satire in answer to your
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Now, Ivan, there's a lot of influences in this as well, and I loved I can't remember which story it was in, but I think it was in the Solar Anus story as well. I love the reference
Mm.
to because I wasn't really involved with it, but I'd heard about it. The oh, what's it called? The Melbourne School of
Continental philosophy, the
Continental
MSP.
Philosophy.
Oh, is that real?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
real. I
so
honestly be sued. All of the places I mentioned in that book are real, and I just make shit up, like as you do with fiction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was actually, because some of the places I'm familiar with just by name, and I was wondering about what, like, even someone who lives in Melbourne, what was true and what was like made up, because it was like, I was, yeah, some of it was like very interesting in that sense. But yeah, I love the little, what's it called? The acephalic cult and shit like that. That was so funny because I love Bataille. I kind of love Bataille in a not in a serious way though. I love him in a kind of meme way, like
Yeah.
just like I just sort of view him as philosophy's like edgy teen, like and then I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna like rape a priest, and when he
Yeah.
dies, I'm gonna orgasm. It's that sort of.
I totally agree with that transgressive view of I'm going to be transgressive. Ooh, and you're like, hey, okay, calm yourself.
I love as well uh the I don't think they've updated any of the translations for like Story of the Eye or stuff like that, but I love that they're like very 60s translations because it's like instead of saying something like I don't know, I wanked or something like that, it's like I tossed off. Like or I tossed her off or like I love shit like that when like they haven't updated it for like modern language and it's like this old like equivalent of whatever the
Can you
hell they're
even
saying in
toss
French.
her off? Like, no, sorry, not go down that path.
Yeah, there's eggs and stuff involved. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, that's the
um,
only Bataille I've read is Story of the Eye.
yeah, yeah. It's
Didn't
yeah.
know quite what to make of it, to be honest.
It's fun and it's short,
Yeah. I got his other book, The Eroticism. I always like look at it on the shelf. I'm like, I should start reading that. It looks
That
fun.
one is actually I do like that. I do like his thoughts on eroticism. So But yeah, I do kind of view him as a bit of a
He's a
neg.
bit funny, yeah. And I think the Solinus is fun because it's a pamphlet. It's really short, really legible. I often find actual Bataille a bit of, yeah, as you say, a bit tedious to read. Even like Desad. I feel like Desad is like, you guys really needed fucking TV shows back in the day. Like the endless plots and twists. It's like, God, you're in a drawing room in some mansion as an aristocrat, and this is like the most exciting thing you're gonna do for the day.
Yeah, I've never like read any him too deeply, but it always just seems like lists of just like profane acts and stuff like that. It's just like spreadsheeting, like, and then I stuck horseflies, or whatever. Like, yeah,
But there's the other one. Yeah, what's the one, the more stories where he's trying to say there was a super immoral noble who like basically marries a woman so then he can fuck his own daughter. And then there's like 20 twists because they're trying, and it's like there's too many twists. At a point, you're just like, get to the point. Would you
Mm,
go? So I think he really was mentally ill. He's just got an obsession for like the permutation. Yeah.
mm.
I definitely
Ah.
believe he was mentally ill. I remember once I searched something. I was like, oh, what's that movie Quills? And there was a bit in there. I forget even what it was, but I wanted to look up if it was real. And I was like, was Marquis de Sade? And then the thing that auto prompt was like a good person.
Yeah, that's yeah. Uh oh, Google. Uh you've had run-ins with Google, haven't you, Ivan? If you
Yes. I mean,
we
I
don't
know
need
we
to
should talk
elaborate.
about this current novel, but like, I was thinking of how revenge is such a great driver for novels. And I'm thinking of Dante, who was like exiled politically and set out to write this 3-chapter epic about how all his enemies were in fucking hell. And I'm like, brilliant. Like, I was in Google 6 years, left because there was a bunch of stuff that went down that I can't talk about, but what you'd expect in a big organization full of corporate type A's, right? And it felt really unfair, whatever. And I was super upset about a lot of things, and that's driving my current novel about like a corporate road trip.
Hmm.
This is not about Google, it's just the software industry. And
Hmm.
I'm like, when you're angry about something and you just won't go down because you feel like you've been wronged and you want to like,
This is where the Italian side is coming out,
right?
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but also, yeah, the novel which you're publishing on Substack at the moment. Are you going to do the whole thing on Substack?
Look, it's funny how, like, there was someone who posted about all artists are a bit vainglorious. We all want the glory, we want
Mm.
to get the big publishing name. We all want to prance around and have everyone's name, our name on everyone's lips. And then I was looking into like the query letters you have to send to aid, and it just was so depressing. And I'm like, you know what? How about I just write another chapter and put it on Substack? Like, so like all of us, right? The publishing industry is what it is. Um, so yeah, when I got down the rabbit hole and a friend of mine was telling me like the amount of research you have to do to get the agent and then write something personal about how you've read all the books they've ever repped and how amazing they are, and basically do a lot of brown nosing to maybe get a chance at a big thing, and then you have to put together your own marketing plan, like all of that, right? Everyone, you get it, Matt, obviously, just that trying to get published thing, and it's so depressing. And I'm like, this is killing my will to live. So I'm just gonna write another chapter on Substack.
Yeah, it's very there's a lot of like if you want to get traditionally published, yeah, there's all sorts of like hoops you have to jump through and you've got to frame the project in the right way, you've got to approach the right agent. And even then, like it doesn't matter if it's like the perfect book. It's just like so many other considerations go into it. Like, oh, I'm a bit busy, so I don't want to commit to this book. Like the agent will say or whatever. Like so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. The answer is just to keep producing things. So I think that's what you're doing, which is good.
Yeah, but you
Um,
know, a lot of people who are like more the ambitious types, you can read both sides of the spectrum. They're like, no, writing is not just about the art. It's like you have to be a savvy marketer. You have to like, and that's
yeah, definitely. I
true.
actually believe in that.
It's
Like,
true a bit, but isn't
yeah.
it a bit like I'm not against it. Like my day job is literally sales, but
It's probably why you would be against it. It's
yeah,
just
I'm like
like,
my day
fuck
job
this
is like
shit.
going out and saying
Yeah.
this product is amazing, you should buy
Mm.
it. And now it's like my book is amazing, you should really read it. And I'm like, oh.
I think it's like it's about like just yeah, separating out the persona. I think like there's Ivan the writer, an artist, then there's Ivan the salesman. Like if you want to do that, if you want to be super ambitious, but like you don't have to. If you don't want to do that either, you can just put it out there and see what happens too. So
I'm really happy about what I got with like you have a choice. Like it was Substack. I was having fun with the forums, and then as a joke, I was like, let me go to the printer across the road and print out 100 copies, and as a joke, start stuffing it in major Melbourne bookstores and
which
leaving
they
them
contacted you
laundromats.
about, didn't
Yeah,
they?
and Readings Melbourne was like, email, can you please stop leaving your book on our
Yeah, that's funny. You should have put like, did you? What I would have done if I was going to do that is I would have got like the little stickers and put them on the, but it's probably too
Yeah, and
hard.
actually Dimmock's, I still have a box here of books. Dimmock's actually, you know, the editor's choice, like you can someone's handwritten, like a really prissy hand, really emotionally stable person. Like I've been told I write like a psychopath. I'm gonna get someone who's really emotionally stable to write the little cards about like why you should buy this book. And went go back down to Dimmock's and put a few.
That's funny. That's
Staff
actually like,
pick.
what's that?
Staff pick.
Stuff.
Yes, yeah, the staff pick, right?
Yeah.
That's actually like really savvy marketing. I don't know why more people don't do that here, like, at indie publishers or whatever. Just chuck your books in major chains. Just do it.
Does it happen though? Because I saw this one bookstore, like the one bookstore in Melbourne that says we want to champion local voices. It's somewhere in South Melbourne, and I think they only accept South Melbourne books. Again, fucking Melbourne, right? And they specifically say on their website, if you leave your book in the store, we will destroy it.
Oh.
So I don't know. I have a suspicion lots of people try it. I don't know. A final bit about the limited edition book is I got a bunch of fake blurbs on the back from very famous people. So a Tessa Moss Fag, Sally Rooney. Again, I'm gonna get sued at some point because I'm just making sure, but like this is the best book ever. Like this book is a moral clarity you won't find. Just
Yeah, just all the buzzwords. Media literacy, so much media literacy in this book.
Ocean Vuong's top book of
Ocean,
2000.
Ocean
Oh, I
Vuong.
put Ocean Vuong. He was one of
Yeah.
the people, yeah, yeah. Ocean Vuong is one of the four.
Yeah, I love that. I love my favorite blurb story is I think I've told it before on the podcast is
Oh yeah.
J.M. Katsia's approach to blurbs, and this is probably why he hasn't given many blurbs actually, is that he says that I don't know if this story is apocryphal, but it was told to me by someone who knows him. So he will do a blurb only on the condition that the publisher publishes the entire thing. So, which could be like, it's really bad, don't buy this book. Because he's that sort of guy, I guess. A
Because you
very
could,
kind of
like, you see him often, like, this book, timeless, and it's like you've taken a whole blurb and you've united the words, but like yeah, it's
and maybe
It's like
that's
the real
happened.
quote's like, I would love to say this book is timeless, but it's dog shit.
the
And they're like,
time.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great way to get out of like get out of work essentially. Like I love when, artists of that level have their strategies for getting out of things. Like I find that very charming. I don't know about you guys.
mm,
But do they need to get to a certain level again? Like you have to be at like certain levels of market power before you can pull that off. Because
Mm.
I know you'll agree, right? The publishing industry is so dire. Like most people are, it makes most people very well behaved, right? I'm guessing if you do get published by a major house, you're not going to be a fucking brat, you know?
Mm.
Like, you kind
Yeah, unless you're of a identity that is sort of like indulged, I guess.
true.
Yeah.
But even that, like, I do wish there was someone who's bratty again, like a Philip
Mm.
Roth, or like someone who has a level of like a drunk Bukowski, someone who's just like, I don't care.
I'll take a Kathy Acker actually.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
on the bikes with her clip piercings and like talking about, getting raped in high school and stuff like that. And yeah, like
Fuck
I'll
yeah.
take that's the kind of like crazy feminist that I want back.
Yes.
But with the journey towards this, like so you were writing these on Substack and then you just on a whim just decided to print it out. That's how it
Yeah, I
happened.
mean, again, I think it's like I started off with like I've never told my story and this whole 20 countries stuff, So I started Substack just as like full on just memoir. But like I really do like certain poets like Richard Seekin, and he's very against undigested biography. And so I think it was a step up to like go just leverage elements and create something genuinely new. And it's one thing we've joked about too, is like you go to poetry open mics in Melbourne and someone's just there to have a confessional in front of a crowd and there isn't really a craft to what they're producing. And there's a whole hilarious story on that, but like that's definitely the thing that you initially fiction is hard because there's a solipsism, right? Your experience. So it was fun to have that process just on Substack. And it's your Substack, it's your garden, tend to your garden in a very Voltaire sense. And it's like
Mm.
I can plant peas or carrots or mushrooms, like whatever, all out of
Yeah,
order. Yeah.
I love that story. I can't. Which story is that one? I can't remember what that was called, but
The
where
Great Melbourne Sulk.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. And how there was this like, this is what I say as well. Like, you could view that as satirical, but I kind of took it like as earnest.
Realism.
Yeah, that the guy, but also that the guy who was appreciating it was appreciating how retarded it was. Like, oh, they're not even like engaging with form or any sort of like traditional poetry. They have really probably have no idea. Like, they probably read three poems in their life, but like there was a certain appeal to that, like a certain sort of youthful sort of vim and ver, and I thought that was quite charming and
Actually,
tender.
totally.
Yeah.
And the open poetry nights here it's genuinely cute and it's generally, again, creatively interesting. And honestly, I'll go to them and it still is very human. It's the way I think, and we've discussed this, like just reading literature or reading something in a room with the stage. I think it's a really great way to connect with the world at large. I wish, we had more of that in a way. So yeah, it's fun to like trash the youngsters who will always be young and a bit lame. But again, like when you come out like with Jack Norman, like and the soul thing, like when you come across something in the world like that affects you, that's where like art happens. And yeah, if there wasn't a lot of silly nights and a really wonderful, earnest gentleman there who's been running this weekly for decades, he wouldn't have fostered that kind of like thing at all. Um, so yeah, it's and the Great Melbourne Sulk was also based on a very sad fantasy, which is those ride or die friends in school where every week you would hang out, like they would come get you. You wouldn't get left alone. You wouldn't be on your phone scrolling. People were just like, you're going out, whatever. And you grow up and you move away from your hometown, of course, and you never have that kind of level of intimacy again. And it can be lonely, right? Sometimes you're in a funk and you wish you had those high school friends who would just like drag you out, you know, and instead today we can all bed rot, and brain rot on scrolly times, right? So that's because the generative fantasy. Imagine if two hot ladies come and drag you out of your apartment. And
Yeah,
I might
yeah,
not make it sexual because I'm Italian, you know?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, like yeah, that's true. That sort of friend just doesn't exist anymore. And I don't know if Zoomers have that. I'm sure they don't. But I'm not sure if that's the case. That's my suspicion anyway. Um, yeah, I remember that actually. Because I was never really a big going out person, and the only time I ever did go out was when someone dragged me out. So
Or did you have like a hangout spaces like
yeah, we did. Yeah.
early on? You didn't have to go out, but there was a pub, there was a place where you just congregate, right?
Yeah, like a friend's house who's got the
Mm.
space
Yeah.
or whatever. You
Yeah,
set
that's
out the
what I was
back.
meaning by going out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
So
totally. That was definitely more of a thing, I think. I think when you live in like your smaller hometowns, like it's a little bit more. City kids probably do it as well, but like I guess it's like there's more valence there when you're in a regional center because you just go to your mate's house and get pissed in his backyard or something. Whereas
exactly,
Mm.
there's
yeah.
more
And
to
that,
do in a city, I guess, you know.
yeah. Like I also remember my high school period, my one period of stability in Italy was very regional in Tuscany. So yeah, that was it. Like there wasn't a bunch of bars and concerts and just nothing fucking going on. So there was the muretto, which was just a little fucking wall you could sit on behind an elementary school, and that was the place where if you just go there, there was probably someone you knew, and you just
Mm.
shoot the shit, you know.
Where in Toscana was this?
So that place was Pescia, and my dad is from Montecatini Terme, which hilariously became like the whore town because they did a bit of like planned development, and they were like, this is between Pisa and Florence. So wouldn't tourists want a bunch of hotels they can go on bus tours to? And instead it was like, this is the place of vice. There's all these hotels, ladies of the night, like put it together. And so they kept there's always cat and mouse in Montecatini trying to like because prostitution is very illegal. But every night, like all of the streets. You don't have like brothels in Melbourne, they're all on the street corners in the center of town. So you can imagine like the regular town folks are like, what the fuck? And it's a town of 20,000 inhabitants that was just like the red light district of, everyone in
So,
the area.
Jesus, in Italy, just even the whores just serve the tourists. Like, like
Yeah.
it's not about the locals. You go to Italy, it's tourist stuff everywhere. Although Montecatini, is that like near a spring?
So
Sounds like it.
Terme means
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
there's definitely the spring area and really beautiful classical. What's the 1920s architecture? Um,
Uh,
that's really
Like
distinctive
like
to
Art
the
Deco,
sense. What?
like Art Deco or
Yes, Art Deco, really distinctive. Like they were inspired by the Austro-Hungarian Empire, prior to like the crash. So very distinctive, very different from the more medieval Tuscany.
hmm. Did you ever go? You probably did to a spring called Saturnia.
No,
Oh
no.
my God, it's amazing. It looks incredible. Like it looks doesn't look real. It's all like blue and beautiful and stuff like that. And I loved it because I love the countryside in Italy, right, like more than the cities because the cities are just full
Agreed.
of
Yeah.
like fucking tourists and people trying to sell things to tourists. But this spring was like the only people who knew about it were like locals and like the odd like Russian tourists somehow inexplicably knew about this place. But it looked like a fairy tale. It was just like had a little house on top of the springs and it just like cascaded down and they had like the volcanic mud that you can put on your skin and have a little facial and stuff. It was
That sounds
beautiful.
lovely.
Yeah. We don't have any of that in Australia because
we don't
it's
have
very
springs?
well, no,
Surely
not
there's
like that because it's very
oh like hot springs or
yeah,
whatever.
it's
Yeah.
very I think it's because we're too geologically stable that there's not like stuff going
Oh,
on
you need to be
underground.
like on tectonic lines or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the geology of it.
And then there's the Mornington stuff, which it's funny how like I don't know, Melbourne tends to be do hospo, especially an hour out. Keep joking, like the boomer retiree version of hospo, which is it's kind of begrudging, and they thought it would be kind of cute and quirky to open an Airbnb, but it's just a lot of work.
Yeah.
So like you go to Bellarine and it's a boomer who's like begrudgingly serving you toast in the morning.
That's what I like every time you go to a B&B, it's like they're always trying to sell it to you. They're just like, "Do you want to buy this? I can't do this anymore."
Right?
It's like, who is going to go, "Yes, that sounds like a great idea."
One of those like accountants that also like does Uber driving or something.
Yeah.
You know, you'll just get in an Uber and they're like, I'm actually an accountant. I just thought this would be fun. And you're like, you fucked in the head. Like, why would you want to do this?
I almost get the Uber thing. Like, I don't know, you want to drive around with the music. Again, it's kind of like the posty thing we were chatting about. But I
Mm,
imagine that would get old soon as well. Like, just
mm.
you're like, okay, I
Yeah,
did
it's just
it
a
one night,
taxi
I did
driver.
it
It's
two
just
nights. Yeah, I'm like,
like it's
okay,
not a glamorous job. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're already like getting paid 200 grand a year, like I just don't, for me, I don't understand why you'd want to like, oh, in the afternoon, I'll just go pick up drunk people.
I saw a guy who got a massively overpriced sports car and was justifying it to himself by doing Uber nights. And I'm like, this was to get it past your partner. Like, this obviously, this financial calculation doesn't work. But hey, you're happy, you're getting to drive in your new toy all the time. So, you do you.
Oh my God, if I got like, not that I'm a car person, but if I got a like beautiful new car that I
Yeah,
wanted to get, I would not use it for Uber.
Right?
no way.
Yeah, so when you were did you have any uh when you were putting these together, was there a kind of plan? Right, so you've got you've split it up into three parts, but did you conceive of you didn't really conceive of this a collection beforehand, right? Because you were saying
No,
you were writing it on Substack.
no, it
So
was 3 years.
what
Yeah.
made the selections? How did you decide on what you were selecting?
Hilariously, I extracted all of my Substack and I said, you're an editor AI. Can you put this all together? It kind of did. So it really started like a fucking joke. Like, obviously, I wrote everything. It's my weird kind of way of writing. And then I was like, hey, imagine if I put this into a book. And then imagine if I put it on Amazon, and then shoved it in bookstores. So it really did start like a joke. Kind of people were like, then Nina Powers saying, yeah, no, you've got something here. So it was fun. It was
Yeah. How did you feel getting the Nina Power stamp of approval? That must have been
Oh,
cool.
wonderful. Yeah, she's
Mm.
wonderful. And as she says, I keep remembering her birthday because we were like friends on Facebook for ages before, when Facebook before it got shitty, when it
Mm.
was a place for discussion and people were friending each other even now. Like it's hilarious how like the world is 6 degrees of separation. I can go on my Facebook with an author I like, and their account's probably dormant, but we might be a friend or have mutual, as you never know. And so Nina was on there for a while, and I always liked her stuff. And I kept getting this phone notification. It was Nina Power's birthday. And then her email is connected to iMessage. So I was like, "Happy birthday, Nina." For like years. And she's like, "Oh."
Yeah, she's cool. I was trying to organize a podcast with her, not for this one, for my Substack one. Um, and we kind of settled on a couple of dates and it was like, oh, so you were right for this one? And she's like, oh, no, I can't do that one now. I'm going on a pilgrimage.
Right? She's going on a pilgrimage. No,
Yeah.
she's
Which
cool. Like,
I think that's cool, but
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a good excuse.
it's a good excuse. Yeah, yeah. You can't
I'm gonna
really
use
kind of
that actually if I
yeah.
don't want to do something.
Um, oh, one of the things that we've got to talk about as well is your description of an archetype, a very Australian archetype that is the wog, um, which
I
is
identify, but just
yeah, just like well, as I always say to Ivan, because of Ivan's upbringing or whatever, I always say, "Oh, we're fake Italians," because like I grew up in Australia and like you grew up in
yeah,
30 countries or something.
Yeah.
So like, um, but yeah, we got the background and stuff. But that's the thing that as well. Like, I I've talked to Ivan about this, and probably you too, Fresta, how like when you go to Italy, like Italians have this like weird concept that like they wog explain things to you basically. Like they're talking about like things about Italian culture and all that. And it's like my grandparents are Italian. I know this. Like, but they just keep going because to them you're not Italian. You're just
Mm.
Australian. But anyway. That's a tangent. But yeah, the wog. Like, so for how would we each, I want to get everyone's like description. How would you describe a wog for the international listeners? Go
Who's
with
going first?
Ivan first.
I think I've always liked that it was a Western Oriental gentleman or something. Like it was some Anglo slur, racist
Oriental.
slur about anyone who wasn't English. And I was like, I'm gonna own that. That's always how I felt. Like for me, the Wog is that wonderful character in Brideshead Revisited. Um, Oh, my memory today. Where he says English charm, Charles, it destroys life.
Mm,
He's basically flamboyantly gay. He's like this other character. And I think of that as like, it's not really what a wog is, but it's just anyone who's like not at all anything in the Irish conception of, but then like, this hierarchy of Anglo, there's of course like Black Africa, and then there's like India, and then there's maybe a Mandarin, Singapore, Hong Kong, Cantonese, and then like there's Wogs, and then of course like, and then there's the Irish or something. I'm not gonna go down like what this cosmology is, but if you look at the Anglo cosmology, I'm sure a Wog is one of the circles of lesser being.
it's limbo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Fresta? How would you describe it?
I mean, I always used to think of it as just kind of anyone like Mediterranean, like Greek, Italian, and as far as maybe Lebanon. Um, but recently, I think I was even talking to Marsha. She said something about having Wog parents, and like she's got like a Russian mom and like an Egyptian dad. I was like, what?
Mm,
And
mm.
she's like, so it kind of expanded the idea that it goes like further. Like you could even just, yeah, you could be like any kind of like not, yeah, Anglo or
Yeah, yeah.
non-Swedish or Germanic white kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. It is like
But not
an
as, I wouldn't take it as far as like Asia. Like I wouldn't call
no.
an, even an
No.
Indian, I wouldn't call a Wog. Like it would,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like I said, like Lebanon,
It's
maybe
kind of yeah,
Syria.
it's kind of like yeah, Mediterranean is the sort of but then it also encompasses people from the Balkans as well. So like Serbians are usually
Yeah.
considered wogs and
That's like
um
the more Italian Slavics, like Slovenia, Serbia, or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. But it's just like, immigrants who are sort of, I think it's a very Australian archetype. You can
Yeah.
probably find like parallels, like for instance, like the Italians in like New Jersey in the US, but it's
Yeah.
also not quite the same. Like there is a sort of like tackiness,
They're
uh,
Guineas or whatever. Like we don't have Guineas.
Guidos,
The
Yeah.
Guidos,
Yeah.
guineas,
yes.
Yeah.
guineas.
Yeah.
Is
Like
that
that's,
is that a real term?
yeah, you never heard that term?
No, I thought it was Guidos.
Guido's a term too, yeah.
Oh, is
Yeah.
it?
But
Oh,
I
it's the
think of
same.
Guido Hatsis when I hear the word Guido.
Mm,
Do you
mm.
remember him?
I do. Yeah, that was a WOG character.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like a Greek radio. Like had that CD. I thought it was so funny as a kid. And then like it'd be like calling the royal family. And then I was like, I can't believe he called the queen. And then I'm like, as an adult, like it obviously wasn't really the actual royal family.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good example, like, because it's this, like, they're very, like, it's an Aussie thing, but it's also kind of slightly askew from Anglo-Australian culture as well. So, like, Italians and Greeks have pretty much assimilated, right? Still, you can tell a wog still, like, but,
It's kind of
um,
like a bogan like derivative or something. Like
yeah.
they're like Mediterranean bogans or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and the men are very like, and as you've described here, the men are very sort of like vainglorious. That's a good term that you used
Vainglory.
earlier. Like, they've got the gold chains, the obsession with appearance, and these days they're more like rigged up They're usually more kind of muscular and stuff, and they love I Wog men loved the kind of turn into athleisure wear when that became fashionable because it was like they didn't really have to change their
They didn't
style.
have to change,
They
right?
just had to buy like a Balenciaga tracksuit instead of like a Nike one or whatever. Like so yeah, it's that sort of vibe. So yeah, it does have sort of parallels, but um yeah, in Melbourne it's a real thing. And I love that you put it in that same story, you described the north-south divide, but like north of the river or south of the river. And, most of the wogs are in the north because that's where migrants came and they were very working class and worked in like all of the, like sewing mills and whatever the hell they did in Melbourne. I don't know. I wasn't here. Like, um, but if you go to the north, you see so many wog mansions, what I call wog mansions, which is
Wog
like,
boxes.
your wog boxes, the pillars out the front,
The
concrete
All brick,
pillars,
lawns,
like
all
two
brick.
story of
Yeah.
brick.
The thing that's the
balustrades.
thing that's really sad about them is that they're all being knocked down for like modern townhouses that just look like galleries, like modern galleries sort of thing. And I used to hate that wog style when I was a kid because it just was just like so. But now I find it like I have such a nostalgia for it, and like
The
it.
ones that
It
have like the browny yellow glass, like it'll be like the
yes,
lower half of the window
yes,
is that like Coke bottle.
yeah. And then the tiles inside that are all like just really like you know brown
Or they'll
kind
have
of
like carpeted
tracing.
stairs.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
yeah, anyway, like it always breaks my heart when I see like an old log mansion get demolished and then
I
a
wish they
few.
would re reno them like, almost that Versace aesthetic, like
Mm,
make it opulent, open it up a bit, keep the more extreme stuff there, the more distinctive, the stairs that go around the corner, but then like make it a little open plan internally, make it like,
mm,
yeah, fucking high-end Versace. Like I was listening to this podcast, and also a big topic of my new book is like chromophobia, like the fear of color, because
mm,
we all want to be, if it's gray, it's more marketable. So now no one wears dashing colors. And the history was again that history of like class and social divide. So first the color was hard to obtain, and then all the affluent wore it, and then they found a way to mass market it, and then the rich were like, oh, that's gauche. And at some point, then when all the colors were available, they were like, you know what's cool? Restraint. And you're like, fuck you. You know?
yeah, yeah,
So it's so sad how like everything again has just become very monochromatic, even
mm,
cars and stuff. So I keep
Yeah.
thinking about what if you just bucked that trend really hard and you just became like a sapeur, like the Congolese fashionistas, and you just were like, no, this is my aesthetic, like a mod, but with color, like a
yeah.
dandy.
That's something that you're probably not going to see in Melbourne because everyone loves their black and their grey down
And
here.
I knew a subculture because Melbourne is the home of a million. They were the color kids, and they're still doing fashion stuff. They really like their fashion and recycling, but at a certain point, they were big. They were the color kids, and they ran warehouse parties and really garish. Like they looked all like clowns, but they took it seriously. So okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the lack of color in trendy kind of subcultures has been disastrous. I did want to get your thoughts as a kind of more of a, I guess, newcomer to the country. Like, what's the difference between a wog and like an Italian from as someone who's lived in Italy and in Australia?
Well, Italy is so regional, right? So even within Italy, there's more the concept of the terrone, which is the
Mm,
guy from the south,
mm,
and there's this joke in this Napolitan movie how like there's always someone more terrone than you or less terrone. So if you're up north and you're an industrialist, you're still a wog to the Germans, and
mm,
Germany is where like the trains run on time and like shit gets done, and Germans are like, oh, there's this like it's like jungle fever. Like, ooh, I can get me some like hot Latino chaos, hot stuff, you know. So there's always been this weird love story of like, oh, you brute, you chaos, you wog monster, you know. So it's very in Italy, everyone places themselves again in a hierarchy, and the more north you go, the more you're like restrained and a real not a real person, but more like emotionally contained. And then, Naples and Sicily is just like, oh.
And that's mostly the wogs in Australia are like Naples and Sicily types.
Exactly, because the more north they were more affluent. They didn't
Mm,
have to migrate en masse, so that
mm,
they stayed. Like I was almost surprised. There's a Tuscan center in Brunswick, and I was like, wow, like these are like the 40 or 400 Tuscans. Or if you go to the Italian Museum of Migration, they show how many people immigrated, and it was like the more north you got, they just weren't. Yeah, they didn't go.
yeah, I think in my grandparents' friend group, because they all sort of like met each other on the boat, because like it took months to get here. Um, in my grandparents' friend group, there was like one person, like out of like 20 that they all knew each other, 20 couples, um, that was like from the north. And like, yeah, so everyone else was like the South, Sardinia or,
Yeah, my
Sicily.
granddad's from Sicily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then they'd migrate internally, and there was the big, like, there was Fiat when it was an industrial superpower before the decline. Everyone was migrating up north, and always like the immigrant has to prove to the home person. So, there's always like the filthy immigrant, and then a generation passes, and they become the respectable, the landed gentry.
hmm And
Recognize,
that's yeah, and that's happened with wogs here too.
yeah,
Like, so many like wogs have like property portfolios and
right,
like,
yeah.
have migrated to the south where, the big mansions are and stuff.
Ooh, the
So
big mansions.
it is quite funny seeing that. I get a kind of like a bit of a thrill when you see like rich wogs like walk driving around Turak or whatever.
I love that. That's the thing about Melbourne that, again, I should makes it such a good fertile place to write, because those divisions of class and race are not clear, because now been, of course, a bunch of interbreeding or whatever, but like, it's mingled, it's mixed, so it's hard to really stay. Like Turek is only where a certain, yeah, there someone I was interviewing was telling me how he looked like a Jack we know, like square jaw, very like from the right place in Melbourne. And he left Melbourne. He's like, I'm so tired of it, so insular. And you can actually tell when I observe as an outsider, like genetically, they all look like first or second cousins. Like there is some.
I love that. Oh, we need to get some genetic diversity down here then.
It's funny, I actually put my, like, how you can upload your ancestry DNA to this thing, and it gives you a score on one of these websites about your level of genetic diversity. And I think, like, of course, the Africans are like way here because there's amazing genetic diversity across Africa that, we've not explored. And I'm pretty close because of course, all them intermingling in this weird cult, which, yeah, it's funny. Like the cult was a good thing if you look at it evolutionarily, I guess, to just mix up the gene pool in a weird
Mm,
way. It's one of nature's chaos attractors. So,
hmm Would you say you're a rootless cosmopolitan, Ivan?
yeah, from the peripheries. Like I spent a bunch
Mm,
of time in South Africa and Southern Africa. I then Dublin, I never like was in a major city, like New York or London. And I don't know why, because I've always been drawn to them, and I probably would have enjoyed. And I've partied a lot in London. I chose Dublin instead of London. I don't know why. But I feel like, having lived abroad, all over the place. That's why I jokingly say on my Substack, I'm like a cosmopolitan from the peripheries of the world. Like you can travel a lot, and still, I'm sure I would be so, not that I'd care anymore at all, but unsophisticated compared to like someone who's in the scene in fucking New York or LA. Like I'd be a complete hick by most measures, but whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, uh what so is that what drew you to Australia then? Because Australia is like the periphery of the periphery.
Periphery of the West.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a funny story to that, and it's something I'm writing in my current novel about if you were in a cult that kept you away from most culture and just learning about the world. I learned a lot about the world from films, which is kind of terrible if the film you're watching is Bad Boy Bobby, Wake, Wake in Fright, and like Mad Max. So I actually was like, I want to go someplace weird. And also, it was Seventh Continent, like these Austrians from Haneke trapped in this fucking oppressive old continent, and they end up all fucking, you know what happens. But they have this poster, and like Australia is where we will find ourselves. And I'm like, wow, in Australia, everyone's wearing assless chaps and fucking, you know, like, fuck yeah. And I come to fucking Sydney and there's hipsters sipping lattes. And I'm like, this is not what I signed up.
Yeah, um Mad Max is a great film. So is Bad Boy Bubby. Like they're
Yeah.
all great. So is Waking Fright actually. But yeah, they
But
do
I formed this
project.
opinion of
Yeah.
Australia, which was completely at odds with the very nice, one of the best multicultural Western countries in the world. Everyone's pretty well to do, and like I was prepared for like a walk on the wild side, I would say. But yeah, it's all worked out. So
Mm. And Australia as a kind of concept. You contributed to the Australia neo-sayist piece,
yeah.
same one that I did. And yeah, like you kind of have sort of like me, I guess, have a kind of uh not necessarily critical view, but a view of like there's possibilities, and once you realize that, it's kind of exciting, and more people need to realize that, I think. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, completely agree. I mean, when having moved a lot, you recognize the cost of moving, and it's easy to kind of. And there's a time when I was, younger and looking for where to find home, and maybe feeling out of place a lot in places and feeling like an outsider wherever I went. Um, it's easy to like just get in this kind of like endless wanderer sort of vibe, like putting down. Now, if I think about it, I would love to go a few months and visit other major cities, but I don't think there's anywhere else in the world where, oh, that's better. Like there's more interesting stuff, it's better work opportunities, or like I feel like everywhere there would be major trade-offs that you'd have to accommodate to. So I'm not like, oh, like in New York there would be some litzy. No, like we know what goes on, it's all on the internet, and it's way too overwrought in a way for what it actually is.
Hmm.
I think we need more self-belief. Like there's no reason to feel inferior. It's all on the internet. Like, you know, it's not like they have access. The big cities don't have access to like better brains. Like I feel like even just with creation and with fiction, right? You can just make stuff up and it can be really fucking good. Like that whole thing, classic cultural cringe, I think you spoke of. It's only present in your own mind if
Mm.
whereas probably in New York, they're just dying for something interesting, for alpha, for something, not kids farming engagement on Instagram, like which is what
Well,
it seems
and
like.
yeah, those certain scenes that like the New York scene or whatever, that's like I won't name it because I'm sick of hearing about it, but
Yeah.
like what has that produced? Like it hasn't produced anything except, like you said,
Podcasts.
yeah, podcasts and people farming engagement on Instagram, or wherever, or Twitter. Um,
It's just
but
made me realize that New York isn't like New Yorkers aren't actually that cool.
mm,
Like some of them are obviously, but like yeah, they were used to be this mystique that's now just completely like evaporated.
100%, yeah, because because of social media and they post every brain fart that they have.
Mm.
They don't
Well,
even,
that means,
yeah.
like, I think the internet saved my life as a young idiot ingenue thrown into the world without anyone who told me how shit works. Like, being able to just go on Google or go on a forum and say, I'm gonna mix these two stupid substances, like having the forum mechanism, like, hey fellas, is it stupid to like do this? Like ask stupid questions. Like I feel like that sense that like the periphery is the ingenues in like the sophisticated capitals are doing like all the
Mm.
stuff. And it's like you want a perversion, I'm sure it's in Melbourne. Like you
Yeah.
you want to go out and have a big crazy night of sex and drugs and stuff, you can do that here. Like in a way, like there isn't this kind of like
And everyone's hotter. Um, yeah, like no, that's true. And also I'm almost um like chauvinistic now about like Australia, like just based on like people that, we know and associate with, and
Yeah.
I just feel like that we can we'll make like really great stuff. And then there's also the other problem with a lot of people looking back to Europe or whatever, and please don't. Like that Europe is
Nostalgia.
done. Europe is done. Like so done.
Even the
Um
food, so done. Like even
Oh, don't
like
even get me started.
yeah.
Last time I went to Europe, I was just like, the food in Australia is better. It just is. Like, even it pains me to say, but even in Italy,
Yes.
like, because I think part of that is part of the sort of technocratic dystopia that is the EU, though, because it's like Italy has to import things that it can make itself and shit like that, and so they're getting like shit produce as well.
And they believe their own myth. I feel like
Yeah.
the nation, like when we get old, we're all going to be a bit stuck in our ways. We're going to know we're the rainbow bridge is at the doorway and we're going to live in our memories. And I feel like a lot of Europe and even Italy, right, with food cultures and stuff, it's very stuck in a like we do things this way, therefore we do it this way tautology.
Hmm.
And here we don't have that. We don't have an established like, well, every Christmas you always eat the certain chicken or some
Mm.
shit. Like you're just like, hey, whatever, let's eat shrimp on the Barbie or not. Like it's all kind of it's a future to be created than a tradition to like inhabit like a dead cathedral.
Yeah, and that's cool. It's almost like almost sort of a kind of futurism sort of
Yeah,
thing, like just
yeah,
accelerate towards the future. Austrofuturism. There you go. I coined
yeah.
it.
There we go. And then moving away from grievance porn, like this whole like there was an original sin, that we need to endlessly atone for. I think let's move away from that to like what opportunities for agency are. Even like given my background, I had of course a period of like fuck having grown up in a fucking cult. Like I had
Mm.
a lot to be grievance about, and then it's like as a grown up, if you want to do cool stuff, you have to step past that and not just live in like, I will not rest till I get justice because it's infinite. Like there's always injustice. This I feel like this, I won't rest till all injustice is clear from the world. I'm like, honey, really?
Mm. So what you're saying is that you're not going to be doing a spoken word poem about your cult experiences, where you'll just
Hell
lay
no.
it all out, like.
Hell no. I wish I could get my hands on the really perverted, like this was Epstein level fucking depravity because of the lore. Like literally David Berg, he died. They never found him. There are people who want to find him because he had a whole philosophy of like children shouldn't know that children have been told that we believe sex is evil, but it's actually not. So like there was some fucking weird shit that was just, and then he got all these comic books and writers, like the lore, like this was like poor Epstein, in a way. And it was not funny, it was awful, but also just like, what the fuck? Like, that's
Wow. Yeah. Well,
I don't know
I
why
don't know.
everyone goes there. Like everyone who kind of gets a bit of money or like, hey, I've got this thing going where the bitches think I'm hot and the men think I'm cool because I attract the bitches. And then it's like, you know what? children, hear me out. Children, sex.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that is weird. This, yeah,
It, it's
it's.
so weird, but it's like
Mm.
everyone comes to this very unoriginal conclusion, and you're just like, oh God, you know?
I wonder if that's like the difference between. Um, I'm just thinking out loud, like what you would define as a cult versus just a religious community. In that part of the dynamic of the cult is there's nothing like there's no sort of countervailing narrative within it. So like there's no person to go like, wait a minute, I don't think that's such a good idea.
It's true. Like, if you
Yeah,
look at most religions, like you can go down the whole atheism way, but it seems like the traditional religions had a kind of anthropological purpose to a lot of like no cloven hooves,
yeah.
no fish on fry. Like there was some kind of like, hey, this kind of is helping us be cohesive as a
Mm,
Mm.
society. And then the cult guys are kind of like, no, fuck all of that, pragmatic thinking. I'm the boss. God tells me what to do. So you have to suck my cock.
But yeah, there's no mechanism in that. Like there's, like the church has like millennia of like theological debate between people. There's no theological debate in cults.
No.
It's just like
Uh,
usually one
Yeah.
guy who's like, I'm thinking this is a good idea. You
yeah.
know?
Well, it's like I think like cults are like attempt to start a religion. That's like a larval form, and if it
Hmm.
can get past that, within they don't even last like 10 years. But I mean, if you can get a century past that, then it sort of becomes like a religion because it's like natural selection has happened to like get it that far. But if, like they talk about like the old Greek cults and the Bacchic cults and stuff like that. But it's like none of that stuff's around anymore.
None of it's around because it wasn't sustainable as like a business model of a theological business model.
Hmm.
And it's making me think too of I read this really interesting guy. I actually signed up to Substack. He's like a McCarthy scholar, and I kind of hate McCarthy because he's just so fucking grim. But what I liked was more the study of how like McCarthy was kind of a Gnostic. So he kind of believed
Hmm.
the world was evil and that kind of American strand that then became the cult strand I was in had this kind of you need to withdraw from the world to get out of the evil of the world. And then of course, hilariously, like evil doesn't work that way because evil got they did lots of fucking weird shit, like which you could say was evil. But it was hilarious how like that was American thinking we have to get out of the world, withdraw like the Mennonites or the Amish. And it's always this similar mode of thinking. And then another thing was how Luther triggered the Enlightenment. Like the minute like there was a belief that you could receive the word of God directly and not from the priestly caste, that was just the explosion of both reason, the age of reason, and the age of random cults. So like, hey, I got something from God, God had a thought through me.
God did a thought through me. Yeah. No, that's actually a really good point. What's that guy's name?
Um,
Do you
Ah,
remember his
I have to
Substack name?
find it, but he's
Ah,
a McCarthy scholar. He's one of the major ones,
oh,
and
is that Aaron Gwynn?
yes,
Oh
yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He was doing the podcast with Brad initially, wasn't he? And then
Yeah, like for
something
a few
happened.
episodes, and then he's not on it anymore for some
Yeah,
reason.
yeah. I don't know.
Can't fucking read McCarthy though. I mean,
I
so
don't
weird.
love his books either. Yeah, like it's like I appreciate them abstractly, and I like the metaphysics of McCarthy, but then like to read them is not always super enjoyable.
Wasn't your first appearance on the Getting Lit
Yeah,
podcast
Blood
McCarthy?
Meridian. That's the
Yeah,
last
bloody.
McCarthy book I read too. I want to read more of them. I still like
Before you
him.
became co-host, that was your
Yeah,
first
I still
appearance. Yeah.
like him in a sense, but he's just not like if I was like had to read a McCarthy book, there'd be like a like sigh before I
Yeah.
do it, just to be like, all right, it's like reading
Oh
fucking Julius
God, yeah.
Evola or something, like it's like, all right, I'm sure I'm gonna get something out of it, but it's fucking gonna be annoying.
Hmm. It's a little bit of a trudge, isn't it?
Why
A
is he
lot of the time.
considered so great? Like he's a real downer, like
Hmm. Hmm.
irredeemably like. grimdark. Isn't that like the Warhammer 4000
I
series?
think,
Like,
He is a good writer.
yeah, yeah,
It's just not what I'm in the mood for most of the time.
yeah. I think there's he's often I've actually seen people compare him to Larry McMurtry, who I haven't read, but from what I can glean, I think I would probably like more.
He
And
seems like more of a page turner,
yeah,
McMurtry.
and Larry McMurtry, from what like reviews and stuff I've read, is sort of like McCarthy in he is a bit of a downer, but it's more melancholic rather than like just, tragic and like grinding misery sort of stuff. And
It's more
like
like
I'm
crying cowboys and stuff rather than
yeah,
like
yeah.
this is the like despair every human soul is given.
Yes.
who's this? Who's this again?
Larry McMurtry.
No, okay.
Yeah. I think we'll
Lonesome
do
Dove
yeah, we
is
should
one.
do that one day on the pod
Yeah.
because I'd really like to read
My
it.
dad
So
loves the show Lonesome Dove. He's like
yeah.
watches it like once a year.
Yeah, yeah. 2026 is the year of dadcore. We're gonna read
Yeah.
all the dadcore books.
Who's the cowboy with the covered eyes?
Cowboy with the covered eyes.
Orville Peck.
Oh, yes, yeah, Orville Peck. Yeah,
When you said like sad cowboy,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Orville
With
Peck.
that sonorous baritone.
Yeah, oh, he's
Um,
so sexy.
yeah, he did like naked photos back in the day for
Oh wow.
Butt magazine. Anyway.
And he spent time in South Africa. He was at Melbourne at the forum, and then he's like, "Has anyone been to South Africa? I grew up." And then he had this song about the veldt, and I was fucking bawling my eyes out. I
Mm,
was like, "Yes," because like I was a reverse immigrant there because I didn't have a proper visa and I overstayed it. So I fell in love with this place, and then it was like, "You're a fucking European. You're not allowed to be here." And I was like, "Oh."
mm. And then
That
like
story
all
you have said in South Africa, I want to ask is like when the kids start doing the pills, are they like sericals or lithiums or something they're doing?
We've never found out. Like that's actually one of the only true stories in the book. When we were in a cult compound in Zambia and we were so fucking bored, and yeah, we were getting these pills that were psychiatric pills. We didn't know what they were, but yeah,
Sounds like, yeah, antipsychotics or something. I remember someone gave me some sericals and then I took it and it was like I didn't enjoy it at all. It was like I just kept like falling asleep, but I wouldn't stay asleep for more than like a minute and I just like snap back and then be like just like it was just constant. And I was like, they give these to psychopaths. Like this
yeah, that
seems
would
like it would
make me
yes,
psychotic.
yeah, it seems like
yeah.
it make the problem much worse.
Yeah. Oh man. Um, yeah, and like all white South Africans, you came to Australia after
Yeah,
that.
obviously.
The Kitsia trajectory.
Right?
Well,
It's
it's all
better a
right.
place we're not the minority.
We got a second Nobel out of that, so that's good. So, which doesn't really count, does it? I mean, I think he got it when he was in South Africa. So, but I
Was
guess
it
we'll
for the
take
book
it.
Disgrace too?
I can't remember. I
'Cause
don't know. Um, but yeah, so Patrick White and J.M. Coetzee, only Australian Nobel Prize for Literature. Um, yeah, is there anything else we like? Oh, the other one that I really like, if you're talking about like the kind of uh actually I wouldn't say it's McCarthy like, but in that sort of grisly way, the Wheelie Bin Carrion one was sort of like that was scary, that one. The way it ended
True
anyway.
story.
What?
No, no, no. Like it was, I should have actually put the name of the person who it was dedicated to.
Hmm.
So my partner is an English teacher, and there was this old English teacher
Hmm.
who was very batty and very eccentric, and she had far too much courage for her age. And yeah, and she got a flatmate. She was living under an English teacher's salary, like on the poverty line, but she had kind of all her life rejected, doing the trad wife thing almost. And yeah, she got a random flatmate who stuffed her in a wheelie bin.
Oh my God.
And I was so fucking moved by her story. Like, a frail English woman who in the classroom acted like physically she wasn't that frail and old, and even then got a random flatmate, someone off Gumtree or something, who ended up
That was the
staying
first
there.
mistake.
Yeah, right. But it's like something you do when you're 20 and you're in good,
Yeah.
So I was so struck by that. I kind of wish, I had put a proper like dedication to her, but it, it's ear jerking. Like I was really moved by that story. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that was true. I thought that was just
Mm.
like, grisly imagination or something. That's so sad.
And it's a story that kind of broke my heart, so I left it on the fucking pile and then had to come back to it, and
Mm,
it just came together. But yeah.
wow. So that one, the Zambian one, are there any other true stories?
Oh, the sales one when I tried to fuck a boomer
Oh.
or no, get a hand job off a boomer. Yeah.
That one is the funniest story. I love that one.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
I like the futurist giant building one, although I'm assuming that one's not true.
Reminded me
I
of
wish,
Blade
I
Runner.
wish it were
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
But
they're
like it's
great.
funny, you'd think if you get attention from someone much younger than you, especially as we age, like I thought this fucking boomer would be flattered. But no, she wanted to be treated like a lady.
Oh yeah, boomers, they're so predictable that yet unpredictable, aren't they?
We because of the media, like and the jumps in technology, I really think we're different species across some of these generational divides. Like, we've not grown up on TikTok, right?
mm,
I almost feel like the elder millennial is the sanest of all so far because we're
yeah.
still conversant in the
In
tech.
both worlds, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we remember the before times.
the
And we
before
know
time.
and we know how to do computer things, whereas
Yeah.
boomers and zoomers do not like
Yeah,
but
boomers have like more technology. They'll have like iPads and Apple Watches, but then they're like constantly like messaging you to like
fix
fix it.
it.
And you're like, I don't have one. I don't know how it works. I'm like, I'm sure I could figure it out, but
Mm,
I don't want to.
mm.
And they ruined Facebook, right? Like,
Yeah.
book was this place for discussion, and then your parents got on and started getting political and like having these rants and stuff, and then that just sort of made it a place that's not cool where you don't,
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. Yeah, I think it is funny how and then you've got the younger the Zoomers and stuff who kind of they're almost like fish in the water. They don't even so they don't actually know how to do anything like digital wise. Like they don't know HTML. They don't know which is like
They're scared
basic
of phone
stuff.
calls.
Scared of phone calls.
They just know how to
Yeah.
like be in group chats and like make GIFs and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And even that's like they probably outsource it to some kind of AI or something like that.
Well, I think that just comes more naturally to them, whereas we're like, we have to like, I'm gonna use AI, like make an announcement and like get some whatever out, but they'll just do it and be like, yeah, that's how you do it. Like, what other way? What, you're gonna just figure it out and watch a YouTube video on how to do it?
Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is, the elder millennial, we are the Ubermensch of the digital age because, we can do everything and
do everything. We're like the versatiles of the digital age.
There's gonna be a point though when we all lose our minds because of whatever like rays they've subjected us to like the last 30 years. Like,
hmm
like the boomers have gone crazy because of lead paint. Will be like Wi-Fi and stuff. They'll
yeah,
be just like
Bluetooth, yeah.
we'll be like 860 and we'll just be nutcases then.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's
I'm
not
so
my problem.
saddened by like girls, like Lena Dunham's Girls was such an optimism moment. It was before the tech platforms quite took over. Uber was kind of a novelty. It was you still kind of were led to believe it was ride sharing,
Mm.
and stuff, and people still wrote each other emails, and it wasn't like now there's the infinite scroll on mobiles. I don't know. There was kind
Mm.
of a golden era when.
Oh yeah, like what like you were mentioned before, the forum days. That was like peak internet. That was the
Yeah.
best. Like
Mm.
forum, the
Because it wasn't on your
dominance of
phone.
yeah, and the
You had to
dominance of
wait
the
till you like got
forum.
home from school and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and you could have like these really long, like interesting kind of discussions that were like almost it was almost like the break from them made them even better because like, now if you're in a group chat or whatever and you're like you've got a someone goes on a rant or whatever, you can almost if you see it, you can reply to it instantly, right? And you don't really have time. You just sort of give the emoji react or whatever or reply if
But
you
if
want
you
to.
miss it, it's like you're going to go all the way back, are
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. Whereas the
No, you're
forum
not.
is like
No
it's
way.
there. It's yeah, the forum is there sort of just like, waiting for you. And
You
there's
have
no
to hit
like
refresh. Like you'll sit there,
yeah.
like you'll like type a comment and then you like hit refresh to be like, did someone reply to that?
Yeah. Yeah, like whereas yeah, it just seemed a more like what's the word? Asynchronous, like that it wasn't just like all in the now. It was all like you could get to it, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that was a great thing about the forum days for sure. Look at us sitting around like old men
Like old
Yeah,
man
and you just be
back in
like,
the
I'm
corner.
into
talking
this
about the
band
internet.
Yeah,
now.
grandpa.
You'd be like, I'm into this band now. I'm just gonna search like Rancid forum, and then you like go join the Rancid forum and you talk about Rancid.
I'm really into Frenzal Rom.
Yeah. And if it doesn't exist, you're like, I'm gonna make my own forum. I'm gonna make myself moderator.
I used to get in I can't remember what they were called, but they were like these science fiction forums, and they were uh like Reddit has done a lot of damage to forums because they were wild. Like, these nerds who were like, because now if you were to go into a science fiction forum in Reddit, there'd just be nerds like probably like downvoting you, trying to get you cancelled or whatever for
You
whatever
put
opinion you have.
RIP Dan Simmons. It's like this post has been deleted.
Yes, exactly that. Um, but like it was actually a really interesting exchange. Like you had so many people with so many different views and it was all cool. Like and if as long as you weren't like um being violent in your language, it was all kosher, and it was really cool.
But also, it was little like it was some effort to find the forum, create a username. You couldn't just jump across from forums and randomly
Mm,
put your 2 cents worth, which is kind of what Reddit did, which made
mm,
anyone could just go somewhere and go, ugh.
mm,
Yeah, forums that have that thing where it was like it had like a post counter or something, like how many times
mm,
you've commented or posted or whatever. And so
mm,
like the people who like had like low numbers were like you're still in the like initiation like level, like you're not like a real member yet until you've got 1,000 posts.
mm, mm. Yeah. Ah, those were the days.
Oh my God.
To be honest, if they existed again, I wouldn't be back on forums
Oh,
though.
that's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a young person thing. It was
Yeah.
like, but yeah. So anyway, the novel. I just wanted to talk about the novel a bit more before we go, Ivan. Like, so what's that all about? Like, it feels very in vibe from what I've read, very similar to that sales one. It's about tech sales and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the tech sales one, which was just one night, and I was like, there's this weird relationship between the sales engineer and the account executive, and it's this duo, or one is the technical and one is like the business person, the closer.
Mm,
And hierarchically, they're kind of equals and they're paired together, like and you get this like you spend so much time with this person um, and then software has such high margins. So you get this level of executive incompetence. And I was saying about Dante is such a good, the re sense of revenge is such a good driver because there's so much rampant incompetence. There was zero interest rates. There was this boom of software. Anyone who has a pulse could get into software. And if you were cynical enough, you could, of course, enter management. And then I'm thinking a lot of things like Veblen, the political economists, how like management sabotages innovation in a way. Like that's fundamentally their purpose. even when we were thinking about tech, right? We were talking about the before days, before the platforms. And people who have not been in big tech tend to think it's this Willy Wonka chocolate factory where just magic is being squirted out of every orifice. And it's like, no, you need to look at the organizational sociology of what actually happens in these places and how much just the narrative of innovation is important rather than actual innovation. Self-driving cars, crypto, AI, like, you know, what do we actually have in our lives all the time? And that's the infinite scroll. Like that's what we have now. We have the infinite scroll, which is this perfect mechanism with some services attached. And so this even with AI, the more you look at it, the more you're like, it is a heated competition. But if you look at their theory of mind as well, so much of the AI stuff is hype and narrative. Narrative which just serves more narrative. And if you're in sales, then you know that everyone has an opinion. Everyone has an angle they're pushing. When like the CEO of OpenAI says jobs are all going to disappear, I mean, duh, you're selling AI. Like, of course you're going to say that. Why are we quoting it uncritically as like, oh my God, this guy has made a prediction. It must be true. It's like he's a
Mm.
fucking salesman. Like it's so ridiculous. So going in there and like there's these two people trying to solve real problems. So they're actually selling industrial software to like physical plants and they're dealing with rational executives who have kind of like, we live in the physical world. If we do something wrong, our margins will fail, people will die on the factory floor. And then they need software to make this stuff work. And you have these people trying to help them. And then the executive of the software company are just rankedly incompetent. They are beyond Michael Scott in the sense they are so bad because they've never had to really face consequence. Like you can release a software with a bug. No one's going to die if it's not avionics or something. So, like, the margins are 80%. Like, who needs discipline in that environment? This is my Dantesque, like, revenge of these cunts. I really want, I want to take these people and rub their nose in their shit,
I'm just imagining you furiously typing, like, yeah. No, it's good because you can sense the energy in it, and like the thing is with like literature and novels and stuff, like it's very surprising that like sales hasn't been a big thing because it's such a like it's so dramatic. It lends itself to drama. Like there's famous examples, of course, like
Glenn Ross.
Yeah,
Glenn
yeah,
Ross.
Death of a Salesman and
Yeah,
stuff. But
yeah,
often I was reading another one. There's often this angle of the salesman is this empty-headed cynic.
yeah.
Whereas if you look at it from another perspective, sales is the one profession where productivity is hard coded in.
Mm.
Like your targets will increase 30%, 40% year on year, and you still have to deliver or you'll get fired. In a way, like it's not the used car salesman relationship. It's actually just trying to help people understand problems, and you have to maintain this long-term relationship. So in a way, like I'm not mythologizing sales. It's a useful career I've dropped into, but you're kind of like just trying to help people in a way and actually sort of do as much away with the like, I'm not pulling techniques on you. It's like you got this problem that you don't know how to solve because you solve other problems in your day job. So in a way, and then if I don't sell you the right thing, you're going to come back really angry, and that will take away from our relationship. So in a way, like you sometimes feel in a software or you're the only one doing the real work, you and the people building it. And then there's a whole middle area of just business bureaucrats who serve no purpose than themselves. Like you get a bureaucrat, it's a self-generating machine of purpose. So yeah, it's kind of looking at the firm, at the big tech firm of like it's comprised of people who are bullshitting each other, themselves, and the world. You know?
No, that sounds great. I
Mm.
I want you to like publish it as a book though. Like maybe do half of it on Substack and then
And
publish it.
then like, look,
Yeah.
I totally agree. I'm just really discouraged by the whole like agent query letter.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Like,
I know. I
we
know.
want to look, I'll pay someone to write those query letters for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not telling you what to do. You do what you want, but I'm
No,
just
no,
saying that
totally.
like yeah, like but yeah, because it's a really good idea. Like and it's I think a lot of people would get a kick out of it. And the other thing I would say as well is there's I think it was a quote Stephen King said actually, is that people love reading about work. So if someone like people at their job and like what they do, you think it's bored, like people will be bored by your job if you know a lot about it, but like getting into the intricacies of it, whatever it is, people love reading that shit. And it's true. I do. Like if it's not my
Mm.
job, like I'll read it and be like, this is really interesting, you
I
know?
hate hearing people talk about it.
Mm.
Like every cafe I go to, I swear, like the conversations next to me are always like someone really loudly speaking about emails. But like, yeah, books that are just centered around someone's like workplace are always like great.
Mm. Yeah.
I miss the human element. Like I'm working now for an American software company. It's full remote. Like my A is in Sydney. So I do miss like I'm just so hungry for, you know, the drama. Like I was starting up Mad Men again, and it was really like, oh, an office where people like flirt with each other and like have trysts and like there's drama happening. I was like that we some things like I would never want to go back to where you had to actually show up at the office or you got written up. But also another thing where we're all just at home staring at our screens, like
Mm.
some kind of happy,
Some type happy medium. Yeah.
happy medium. Yeah.
Mm. No, no, it sounds great. And d where do you think so the novel we can read currently on Substack and you can get the book on Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah, the book of short
Yeah.
stories. Is there anything else you'd like to plug? Where can people find you,
Oh,
Ivan?
the Substack is minor observations. I don't have my name. I don't know. It's not because more and more I don't care about it.
Hmm.
Actually, honestly, I've started even posting my novel to like LinkedIn, but at the time I was working for Google and I wanted to just have that freedom of like, I want to write any weird stuff on this and not think that the wrong context will get mixed. And, we've encountered the HR censorship model, right? Before the famed vibe shift. And it was pretty intense. Like, as maybe you've seen that sort of like the vague censorship of the HR lady who doesn't
Mm-hmm.
know who isn't very literate at all or very articulate, but just kind of says this is a bad vibe.
Mm.
And it's usually about masculinity in a way. So I kind of was like, and let's just say big tech loves that shit. Like, how can you have a fucking monopoly and also want to believe that you're the wokest company in the world? Like, the incongruity of that meant that like the bullshit there was stacked up. And when you've got this mythical job that you don't want to lose, you're kind of like, oh, I don't want to do anything to like, you know, dismiss it. But more and more I am just like, whatever, like. So the Substack is we've had these conversations, right, about like pseudonymity online,
Mm.
right? And it's weird, right? Like I once, you had an academia article .edu, and I don't know, it's nice like the forums to be a bit anonymous, to have a
Mm.
context like Leather Daddy forums or Aussie assless chaps from Mad Max 2 forums, and then it's like, sale for
You're
or
really
whatever.
invested in that, aren't you?
I'm not-
There's no more or less arseless chaps in Australia than ever per capita than anywhere else. It's not
Well,
a
tell the director of Mad Men.
Mad Max. Yeah, no, totally. I get what you're saying, and I used to do that as well. Like I didn't really put my name to the podcast, my surname anyway, and when I used to write for the Daily Mail, I did it with a nom de plume.
Yeah.
Just because not necessarily because I was scared of anything, because the Daily Mail doesn't give a shit, like, because it's the Daily Mail, but more that just to separate the professional from the creative, I think is sometimes a good idea.
And you don't want the mum thing either. Like, my mum, like,
Yeah.
I came across your dating profile. Like, actually, that's a story for another day. But, like, do you want that? Like, do you want your mother to just come across your private life? Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. But yeah, love the book, and I loved yeah, everything everyone said about it has been it's all true. It's very good, Ivan, and you should be very proud of it.
Oh, thank
Even
you.
even if you just sort of threw it together. That's good. I like that too. That's even more charming. Makes it even more special to me. So, yeah, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me,
Yeah, see you
guys.
next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, just because I work for a big corporation doesn't mean I don't like fiction books. In fact, fiction books is one of my favorite kinds of books.
I mean, I've never met anyone else who likes fiction. That is too funny.
Yeah, but they're not real. I mean, you know that, right? I remember in high school they made us read The Great Gatsby. I asked my teacher, did this happen? And he was like, no. And I was like, well, why did they write it down?